That was great. Well, live. No one could hear that, but Luke just did a big shouty TV vibe introduction for us, which was very exciting. It's like being a real life TV. How's everyone? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
I'm just going to wait a few minutes until everyone's arrived. Give everyone a couple of minutes to be late, as it's a Thursday and people have got beers to be collecting. The sun's just come out of my house, so I feel like that's an excuse to be. Yeah, exactly right. People have got to come in for their runs, grab a beer, then get in front of it. What's everyone been up to today?
Enjoying, actually, perhaps not feeling so guilty of being inside working because we've had a big long shower.
Working? What's that?
Oh yeah, I remember.
How about you, John? Have you been working, or is Charlie Kid looking after today?
I haven't been working for weeks. No. I've been. Well, we've got two little kids, so I mean, you know, they don't leave. They're here all the time. They're here all the time. So they're there right now, and they're great. But you know, my days are spent juggling children physically and you know, emotionally and figuratively. So yeah, we went out for a walk, and I don't know if you noticed today, but there was a little bit of rain, and we got stuck in that, but they were fine. They were fine. So that's what I've been doing, getting children soaking wet.
I'm really hoping for one of those BBC political guy moments where we're at a really serious moment in this call, and then your kid like comes barging in the background.
Yeah, well, I got one in a unicorn onesie, and I got one in a cat onesie. So there'll either be a unicorn or a cat trying to find sweeties or a biscuit at some point in the background. In fact, if you see one, we could do it like a panto, and you could say, "The unicorn's behind you."
That's going to be your grand finale. You've got a whole choreography plan.
Bomb. How about you, Emma? What have you been up to today?
Well, not bad. Spending it all at home, except I tried to go to the post office today, and I didn't realize they closed at 3. I got there like 10 to 3, and then literally got on the door at 3 o'clock, and they were like, "We're not letting you in." I was like, yeah, and then suddenly it started like pouring rain. I got soaked. I went back like crying.
I've got a really nice view of the common from our lounge. So all we could see today was people out on their jogs getting caught in what seemed to be biblical weather within like 2 seconds of sunny, pop out for a run, absolutely destroyed, run home.
Grabbing the windows.
Been great to watch.
We've been trying to do a lot of skateboarding recently because it's like I'm not very good at running, and I used to skate quite a lot, and doesn't really work in the rain. You know, your grip tape just gets completely covered. It's just chaotic. And I had quite a bad fall yesterday, so I think I'm going to take a good 24 hours from skating for a bit. But yeah, you know,
I'm managing to do a run at best once a week, and then my knees realise that I'm not as young as I used to be, and I have to take a week's break before I do the next one.
That's it. I was huffing and puffing after skating. Like I used to back when I was a teenager, because you guys used to skate, brothers, right? And
I mean,
you do it just all day. But you know, me and my brother, we did literally 10 minutes, and we were both sitting there just going, like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like I need to give up with trying to be exercising and healthy in this lock-in world. It's not for me. I think I was built for TV.
Yeah.
Not for running.
Looking at screens.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting a bad back. Sat in here. Oh, is that a unicorn, John?
That was a unicorn, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
But she left. Yeah.
I'm slightly upset that you're not in a unicorn one, to be honest.
Mate, waist down, all unicorn.
Amazing. I'm gonna give it another minute or two just to let the last few people arrive, and then we'll kick off. I'm quite looking forward to watching some serious films tonight. It's gonna be good. Actually, do you know what? I'm really looking forward to the Q&A because I've seen the films, but the Q&A I'm very excited for. I think we're going to get some. I just promise I've got absolutely no idea how I'm going to manage to read the questions and keep a conversation up when the amount of questions that might come in. But we'll deal with that when we come to it. I'm sure we'll be fine and super professional.
It's going to be fine. We're fine.
It'll just work. Right, I think we're pretty much ready to kick off. So if Luke does us a favour and quickly turns off everyone else's video, I'll do a very quick introduction for everyone, and then we'll kick off with John's film. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Peckham Filmmakers. This is our, I want to say, third online one, but to be honest, I've lost track of the days and weeks and what we're doing. But thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't been to a Peckham Filmmakers event before in real life or online, then thank you very much as an extra special welcome for joining us. As a quick introduction, if you don't know, Peckham Filmmakers is what started out as a Facebook group for people who kind of work in and around the film industry in and around Peckham, basically. It's now grown very much into kind of these monthly events. At the moment, we're doing events every 2 weeks, where we try and kind of champion some of the work that people within the group are putting out. It's by no means strictly Peckham based. It's just nice to have a name, isn't it? To be honest, we've got people from all over the world, so more the welcome, the better. So yeah, please invite your friends to the next one. I think I should be doing them. The next one should be on the 14th. So stick it in your diary, same time, same day. We've got two seriously good films to watch tonight. We've got John showing his latest short, Trevor, which is a confusing sentence to say. And then we've got the guys from Deadbeat showing us their documentary. John, is that a baby?
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. I was like, it's not me, is it? And also really excited to have Eamon joining us as well tonight, who is the subject of Deadbeat's documentary. So that's really something we don't think we've ever done before at a filmmakers event, is have someone who's in one of the films join the Q&A. So that's going to be really, really cool to see. So a quick overview of how tonight will work. We will have a quick introduction for each film. We'll then watch the film, and then we'll be putting your questions to the people who made it. So you should be able to see on the right of your screen a chat box, question box. If you stick anything in there, then I will do my best not to miss it and to ask it to the panelists tonight. Any question goes. They might answer it, but you can ask it. So ask anything you like. If you can't see the question box, it might be because you're not logged in. So just make sure you've logged in either with a YouTube or Google account, and that will mean you can ask questions. Lastly is, if you see the description below the video, there's a link there to join our WhatsApp group and our email newsletter. Those are both how you find out about the future events. So make sure you're joined up to one of those so you don't miss out on next week's. And I think that's everything. So I think we can kick off. Luke, can you bring John back in for me? And John can tell us what we're about to watch. John, I assume Luke's done that, so you can go. I actually can't see what's happening. Right, tell us, John. What are we going to...
Hi, yeah. So we are going to watch a short film called Trevor by and Ryan. It was his idea, the script, and pitched it.
I don't know if anyone can see.
I thought it was.
John, I think potentially your links.
Who very kindly said that they were. All right, I've disappeared, have I?
Sorry, mate. You know what? It's gone a bit fuzzy, and I didn't hear the last 20 seconds of what you said, which makes me think that maybe other people didn't either.
Oh, it was extraordinarily insightful 20 seconds.
It was the most important bit, and we'll never get back. Tell you what, shall we? Let's roll the film, and then we'll sort that out in the meantime, and then we'll come back with Q&A. How's that? Seems like a good plan. All right, let's roll the film, and then we will meet you back here for Q&A in roughly just under 15 minutes. Play it.
Okay, here we are. Make sure you tell your mummy had a nice weekend, okay? Did you have fun? Sammy and his dad sitting in the car. Everyone around them doesn't even know how far they've been or where they're going. No one's knowing. That was fun. It's another fun thing we've done together. Shall I kidnap you? Is that a weird thing to say? Okay, well, I'll pick you up same time on Friday.
Mum says we're going camping next weekend with Trevor.
Did she? No, I don't think that's right. No, it's always me and you on the weekend. That's the way we like it, isn't it? Well, we can go camping if that's what you want to do. Why don't we go camping? Me and you, your mum, if she doesn't smell. I'd really like that. Who would you prefer to go camping with, me or Trevor?
Sorry, what's going on?
Sorry, I shouldn't have asked you that. I just, Samuel, no, I was just joking. Don't tell your mum that I upset you. Samuel.
You all right, Samuel? What's wrong with Samuel?
Are you going camping next weekend with Trevor?
Did I not say?
I get the weekends, Elizabeth. We've got to stick to that.
It's just one weekend.
Okay, fine, well, why don't I come then?
I'd hate that.
Can I come in?
Why? No, Trevor's going to be here in a minute. I don't want you hanging around.
Look, I don't think this situation... It's not healthy for our son anymore.
How concerned for his health were you when you were fucking Helen? Anyway, Samuel's fine. He's always very happy when Trevor's here. Look, I think he's going to propose to me tonight.
No, he's not.
I think he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he fucking is.
You don't believe in marriage?
I just hadn't met the right guy. Now off you fuck.
Hello. Howdy. Hello, Samuel. Howdy, partner. Howdy, cowboy. Howdy, partner. Howdy, cowboy.
Hey, Trevor. How was your weekend?
Mighty fine, thank you, and look what I bought you.
Thanks, Trevor. Can I play this now, Mum?
Well, dinner's nearly ready. You can play it after dinner. And after we've, scrubbed your feet.
Oh, okay, here we go. I get upside down. You get the feet.
All right, I will stop scrubbing your feet if you help Trevor lay the table.
Deal.
Off you go. Oh, can you lay 4 places? Because I've invited Raj round.
Why did you invite Raj?
Oh, is that not okay? I just thought, you know, you guys get on really well. Plus, it'd be nice for you to have some friends in the area.
Yeah, no, that's actually really sweet. It's just Raj is such good friends with David. It just feels weird that I'd be friends with him too.
Why would it be weird?
Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you, Liz. It looks delicious.
And a nice big bit of chicken pie for Trevor.
Thought you were vegetarian.
David's the vegetarian.
Oh, my bad. I sometimes get them mixed up.
That's okay, Raj. I could never be part of the Plant Crusade myself. I need my meat. As long as it's lovely, organic, free range.
Yeah, that's not actually free range. They'd run out. I could only get the chickens that have been raised in the tiny, tiny little cages all their lives.
Never would have known that had you not have said. Oh. Still, animals are there to be eaten. That's what I always say. Whoa, what you doing, that little man?
I thought I'd try some meat.
No, you're a veg man.
I think I'll be a meat man now. As you said, they're put here to be eaten.
Oh, no, you're fruit and veg, fit and healthy.
If he wants to try chicken, then he can.
Yes, I know that. Well, it's just that we should tell him everything. You see, what they don't tell you at school is, you are what you eat. If you have this bit of chicken, you'll turn into one.
Is this true, Mum?
Of course it isn't true, darling.
Would I lie?
So how come you haven't turned into a chicken yet?
Good point. Smart kid. That just must have been some stupid lie that my father told me. Why have I not turned into a chicken yet?
Look, Mum, it's true. Trevor's turned into a chicken.
Quite right, he is.
Why does he keep changing it to different things?
I'm Brett.
I'm a potato.
What are you, Raj?
I'm just Raj. Why can't everyone just be themselves? All right, Dave. Still pretending to be a cowboy, then? It's a bit mad, isn't it?
No, it's not mad.
It's not mad.
No, it's not mad. Leaving my family would be mad. This keeps everyone together.
I'm worried about you. I mean, what's this doing to you and Elizabeth? And Samuel
gets his daddy the whole time. That's not a bad thing.
doesn't get his dad. He gets a cowboy in a wig.
I'm doing this for my family.
Stop doing the accent.
I'm doing this for my family, okay? I'm sure you're laughing about me. I'm sure everyone's laughing about me. But I don't care. I don't care what you think or what they're saying. I just care about my family and what they think, the people I love, the people I hurt. This was my fault. If this is what Elizabeth needs to forgive me, then I'm happy to do it, just for a little bit. It's not forever, and Samuel likes cowboys, okay? That's why we've made it this way. He's loving it. I don't need you looking at me like that.
Where am I supposed to look?
You sat there just looking at me like that all night. If this was the other round and you were just like a cowboy, I'd just come over and I'd say nothing. I'd be normal.
I'm just worried.
But worry about yourself. I'm worried. I'm worried about
What are
you.
you worried about me for?
You can't hear very well sometimes. You can get that checked because I'm worried about
It's
you.
just wax, isn't it? I'll get it sorted.
Yeah, well, I'm really worried, and people have been talking about you, and everyone's worried. So worry about yourself and your ears.
Thank you. I've taken that on board and I'm going to do something about
Good.
it. I'm worried about you and you pretending to be a cowboy.
Why don't you just try and be supportive?
Your hair looks nice.
Shut up.
When's it going to stop, Dave? Do you even know?
It will stop.
I mean, do you both want it to stop?
Yes. Yes, please.
I think you should check your pocket.
Oh, Trevor. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Give me that. Oh. I'm engaged, Raj.
Who to?
I'm going to tell my mum. I'm so excited. I'm going to tell my mum.
Thanks.
Bye, Raj.
Thanks for inviting me around.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'll let you know about the party.
Yes, well done.
Put the hat on. Put the hat on, Trevor. Oh, God, you're so much bigger than my ex. Put the hat on. I'm going to come. Put the hat on. Oh, fuck. Fuck.
I don't want you to marry someone else. Will you ever forgive me?
I can't sleep tonight. You're on my mind and have been since I left old Houston behind. And I know it's not your fault. I'm the one to blame. You can blame me for your hurt, for your anger. You can blame me for the rain. I remember when this love was still brand new.
All right, we're back, hopefully. John, that was pretty sick, mate.
Thank you.
Tell us, I feel like we might have missed something important when you were talking at the start. So tell me, how did the project come about?
Well, comedian, writer, and actor Luke McQueen, who stars in that and also wrote it, he pitched me the idea a while ago now, and then I pitched it to a production company called My Perfect Cousin, who were really into it and kind of were interested in working with me. So I said, well, why don't we try doing this short together first as a kind of test? And they thought that was a good idea. So I'm very grateful that they made it happen. And then we shot it. I don't even know. When did we shoot it? Like,
Oh, I feel like we might have slightly lost John there. We've got slight Wi-Fi issues. I can't answer his question either. I don't know when they shot it, but it was pretty sick. We will get John connected back with us very shortly. In the meantime, please do send in all your questions in the comments box, and I will field them to John, assuming we can get him back on the back in the line. There you go, Alex is telling me it was shot in June and August 2019. There you go. Thanks, Alex. Big fan. It's handy sometimes when the producer's on the chat just telling you the answers. John is just reconnecting at the moment, so please do all stick all your questions in the comments box. We'll get him back very shortly, and I've got no idea who I Left My Bed is, but they're saying I'm very British, which is great. I don't really know what that means, but that's nice, I guess. Thanks. Luke is just connecting us back into John shortly. I feel like I can't really answer any more questions about the film because that's very much John's department. So yeah, send me in everything you've got, and I will give it to him as soon as he gets here. Maybe in the meantime, Alex will just answer the questions for us in the chat box. That'd be great. Maybe I'll ask Alex questions, but there'll be a slight delay, and it'll be very confusing as to who gets the answers. All right, Luke's just refreshing him at the moment. Give us a second or two, and hopefully he'll be back in. This is the slight problem we have these days with the internet situation in the old lockdown world, is that you've got the option between streaming on someone's phone or streaming on Wi-Fi, both of which can be a little bit ropey. I think we might have John back.
Oh, hi there.
Oh my God, I can hear you, John.
Oh my God. I've had an exciting couple of minutes, let me tell you that.
Oh, I was running out of things to say.
I'm really sorry. My phone, which I'm on, had one of those messages that said, it's too hot and you can't use it again. I'm really sorry. That could well happen again.
That's fine. That was exciting.
What did you do? How did you feel? How did you tread water?
Do you know what? I feel like that's a question that's probably best asked to someone watching as opposed to me, because I don't really know what I did. I'm
really sorry. I mean, the phone it just went, I'm too hot. I'm shutting.
It's fine. I'm gonna. Well, we found Alex told us when it was shot. It was shot in June and August. It turns out 2019.
Oh, great.
That was helpful. Alex was there to save the day on that one. Don't know how it worked. Okay. I'm going to start firing some more questions at you so people don't have to hear me anymore. Yeah. Izzy wants to know, how many days or nights did it take to shoot?
It took 2 days. It took 2 days, and then we came back for a pickup because we weren't very happy with what we got. I mean, we had more to shoot, so luckily the crew all agreed to come back and shoot some more.
Right. How did you find the house? Because it's like
the house.
Perfect house.
The house is incredible. So we actually had a whole different house lined up, and then which was very. I wanted something that was quite quirky because at its core, this is a family that is dealing with trauma in entirely the wrong way. So I wanted the location to be a sort of character in the film in a way. So we had a house lined up that was all very quirky and 80s and weird.
and they pulled out, I think, a day or two before we were going to shoot, which was a nightmare. So then we just, my producer Jess and Adrian and Alex are also the execs on it. It was an incredible last minute find, and it was this weird place in Chislehurst. And these guys, they've done quite a lot of shoots in there, and it was like, I mean, I sort of said to everyone, and I meant it. I was like, look, the people that own this house are incredibly nice and incredibly generous, and also very proud of their house. So as much as we might think it's eccentric, no one could be rude about it because they were there the whole shoot, the owners of the house.
Yeah.
And your your instinct when you go in it is to go like, what the like, how did this happen? But I didn't want anyone to do that with the owners there and give them the wrong impression. So it was a last minute scramble, but we found it, and the owners were amazing.
That's insane that you managed, because it feels like it is the perfect place to have it.
Yes.
But it's amazing that it was actually not the plan and was a last minute find, and that it fit perfectly as well.
And I was really worried about it because it's so grand. Like the original place we had was like a sort of more of a normal terraced house that was like stuck in the 80s, whereas this place is like, it is what you can see there. And I felt like this is too much. Like this is already such a weird film. I didn't want to go too far with the location, but it ended up being great, perfect.
Mate, it's so good. Sam wants to know, Sam saying it's a great car choice. What was the Volvo supposed to say about the guy?
So I really love that car, and Alex, the producer, is a bit of a car nut as well, and he managed to find it. We had a lot of discussions about the car. It's supposed to say that this is a man who sort of fears change. And is very stable. So David, who becomes Trevor, we wanted him to be, the whole conceit is that he has to become a person who he isn't in any way. And I think the opposite of a flamboyant alpha cowboy is a Volvo from the early to mid 90s.
Yeah, it's another kind of along with the house. It feels like it is just the perfect, like the car is cast perfectly.
We're really happy to get it. Yeah.
Ed's asking kind of what other potential characters could Trevor have been? So did you think up also? Or I guess it's who else could David have been? So was it always going to be Trevor the cowboy, or could there have been someone else?
No, it was always going to be Trevor. That was the idea that Luke came up with. Sorry, you can probably hear my kids in the background. Quiet, please. They're watching Dino Train, which if you're not watching this is highly recommended. It was always going to be the cowboy. That came fully formed from Luke, and we toyed. At a point, we thought, would it be funny if you could see him trying different personas, like the fireman or whatever? But no, it was always going to be a cowboy.
How have you worked with Luke before? How did that come about, or was this his first time with him?
I can't remember if we've worked together before, but we're in a very similar sort of circle, I suppose. The kind of comedy nerds, So I don't think we'd actually worked together, but I'd known him for a long time, and his comedy is extraordinary. Like Luke's comedy, if you've never seen his stand-up, you really must. And he's got a couple of things out at the moment. He did a thing for the BBC last year, and he's just done some stuff with Comedy Central. Like, he is brilliant, and his comedy sits in shame. So when you see his stand-up, his whole thing is like making the audience feel so uncomfortable, but in a funny way. And his comedy just sits in that moment where you feel like your skin is crawling and it's so awkward, and he just plays with shame. That's his whole thing. And I thought that this script was like exactly that. It's like, it's kind of about shame, and it's about revenge and power, and and sort of relationship dynamics. But shame, I think, is a big part of it, and that's kind of what Luke's brilliant at.
So did Luke come to you with kind of a pretty formed script, kind of wanting you to help him make it?
No, he didn't have a script. He had an idea, and then wrote the script. I think we chatted for a while, and then he wrote. Maybe we went back and forth, I think, a few times on the draft, but no, it wasn't a fully formed script. But it was pretty. I mean, it was there. Like, he had it all in his head.
Yeah. And how much of it, when it actually came to shooting, was the shot script, or was there any kind of improvisation in it? Was there any ideas that kind of came along on the day?
Because of the way I wanted to, I normally do loads of improv, but because of the way I wanted it to be shot, which was quite rigid and quite formal, because I wanted like the madness to be sort of boxed in with like very sort of formal framing. There wasn't a huge amount, but then actually with the Sunil scene, Sunil plays Raj, Sunil Patel. When Raj and Trevor are having that chat, that was that was our pickup day. So we did loads of improv on that scene where they're sitting opposite each other. So that scene has got a ton of improv in it, and I wish we could have done more, but we were so tight for time that was pretty much it. So it was pretty much the script, I would say.
Nice. Someone's asking whether Mrs. Doubtfire was an inspiration at all, and then kind of and how you came across the actors and how you went about kind of like casting everyone.
Yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire is a huge influence on this, and I'm glad that person spotted it. For me, the two biggest influences are Mrs. Doubtfire and Lars and the Real Girl, which is just the most beautiful film. It's Ryan Gosling before he was like Ryan Gosling, and it's a film. He's a really lonely guy, and he orders a sex doll, and he sort of falls in love with this sex doll. And the beautiful thing about the film is that he's part of this very small sort of village community, and he lives with his brother, and he's not well, and instead of rejecting him, the whole community sort of embrace him. And Mrs. Doubtfire, for those that don't know, I mean, what are you doing here in a film chat if you don't know what Mrs. Doubtfire is? But Mrs. Doubtfire is a beautiful Robin Williams film where he dresses up as a Scottish nanny to be near his kids. And yeah, we did talk about Mrs. Doubtfire a lot when we were developing it, and I think Trevor's a lot darker, but it's definitely in a similar vein. And as for casting, I knew all of them except for Kai, who the boy who we had a casting director find Kai for us. But Rachel, I've worked with probably more than anyone almost. Rachel Stubbings, she's just a phenomenal actor and writer, and Luke's worked with the load, so we just wanted her to be the wife. The one thing that we had in an original draft was Raj was actually a woman, so we'd cast this brilliant actor to be and I think it was going to be David's sister, but we realised that it didn't quite work. Like, it needed to be another guy to sit there opposite him, because the film's so much about kind of masculinity and shame. Yeah. Like I said, that I think it works more to have a man come into that scene and just be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, this is mad."
That's actually my favourite scene in the whole thing, when it's kind of Trevor and Raj just opposite. I think just the kind of very much kind of like flat framing, popping between the two of them, just being like, "Mate, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's brilliant. It works really well." Good. Alex has actually asked a good question. I don't know whether he's leading me on here, but maybe he knows the answer. But what's the next steps for Trevor?
Alex the producer. Yeah, Alex the producer. Okay.
I think we to use more.
We're toying with. We'd like to turn it into a feature. We think it's got legs. Me and Luke have plotted out the beats of a feature version of it, and it's really good. It's really good. So yeah, if anyone wants to put in a couple of mil for for a movie, then we will accept it. Cash or a check, whatever, it's fine. Not a check, actually. That would be a pain.
Yeah, especially nowadays, the bank's closed. Okay, so if you've got £2 million, then just message John on Insta, and
Please do, yeah.
Longer version for you.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
What is that? Actually, I think that I know that's an area you've kind of worked in the past, but there'll be, I imagine, a lot of people on this who won't have any clue how to go from the step of like having, maybe they've made a short, maybe they want to make a short, and the long-term goal is always this kind of like, oh, maybe that will turn into a feature, but that's actually a process you've been through. I know that obviously Trevor's not there yet, but you've been through that process a few times before. Maybe kind of, can you explain to us, maybe briefly, I don't know if that's possible, how do you go from like, you've got your short, it's made now, what are the kind of like lines in the sand to then get that to being a feature length?
Do you know what? I don't really know. I mean, yes, I have done it, and I have done it, and well, one. I mean, it's a very long answer, but one, I think the industry has changed so much, even in the couple of years since I released the film, a movie, that I don't know how you do it now. It's very hard to raise the money. The money is leaving the industry quite quickly, and even more quickly right now. And it's very and as hard as it is to raise money, it's harder to make money back, which is not a good pitch, is it? Unless you're making a film like Trevor, in which case you're guaranteed to make your money back. Look, it's about having a solid script, proving the concept. Having a short helps because the tone is there and people can see it, and then having a strategy and finding a load of rich people who want to benefit from some tax breaks.
Nice,
really, yeah.
EIS schemes all the way.
Yeah.
What has it been like as a process for you, kind of having releasing this in the current? I mean, I don't want to bang on about Corona climate because it's boring nowadays. Yeah. But I think there's a context within, like, you've released a film in at a time where it's in theory quite a difficult, if not bad, time to release something.
Yeah.
Does that change kind of your strategy of how you released it and what you've done with it?
Yeah. I mean, it was a flow because we were doing the festival circuit, and we want to do what a lot of shorts do, which is try and get a bit of festival buzz and then release it online. With a partner, ideally, but in the end, we just thought, let's just release it on Tuesday. so we did. Look, but also you've got to think about why you're making a short. The guys that you've got coming up the next film, like they made their short because they wanted to, highlight an issue, and so that's a great reason to make a short. Other people make shorts because they want to turn it into films, or even perhaps better, they make short just because they kind of want to do it. And shorts are a really great way to like flex some ideas and see what works, and maybe have some fun and like lose a ton of money and a load of sleep that you'll never see back, to make a thing that like a couple of people watch and go, oh yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, it's been a bit annoying, but I mean, I've also had films that have done festival circuits and then they've released, and it's the same. I mean, you just can't tell. There's so much content out there that you've got to make a film because you sort of enjoy doing it and not worry too much about what's going to happen. I think that's quite important.
Oh man, I just think it's so interesting to, one, it's amazing to hear kind of the honesty, I think a couple of people just said,
jaded, bitter honesty, yeah.
Yeah, no. But also just like, it's amazing to hear from someone who's actually kind of been through that journey and done it, and saying that kind of like, I don't actually, it does change all the time. And also just kind of hearing that maybe there's not, kind of reading between the lines, it sounds a little bit like saying there's not necessarily there's not one way of doing it. There's not one step.
No, there is no, absolutely. Yeah, there isn't one way of doing it. I mean, you can try and go the soft money route if you're willing to wait for 10 years to get rejected and try and get money off the BFI or film. I mean, like, BFI and film BFI, I don't think would be interested in me and what I want to do, which is fine. Look, the best way to make a film and to get a film funded is to be really rich, or have no rich people who don't care about losing a bit of money and get them to fund it. Or go through be commissioned. Like TV is a much better model where you pitch someone an idea and they say, here is the money for you to make that thing, and then you get paid and you make the thing. Like the model to make a movie has always been you raise the money and then you sell it and then you try and get that money back. But no one wants to spend money anymore, right? I mean, we all have our subscription services, which is great. But like I used to spend, I mean, I am an old man, but I used to spend all my money on DVDs. And then as soon as I got all the subscriptions, I don't do that anymore. So I went from spending 50, 60 quid a month on movies and going to the cinema all the time and all of that, and now I spend £14 a month or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult business that and the maths doesn't quite make sense. I'm afraid.
Well, on that super cheery ending.
Good luck.
Good luck. If someone could send John £2 million to make Trevor longer, that'd be great. John, in all seriousness, mate, thank you very much for joining us tonight and telling us a little bit about how you made Trevor.
No,
and
sorry, that's my children.
That's fine. They can make as much noise as they want now because we're nearly done. Mate, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to ask you to put yourself on mute, and I'm going to bring Boris and Eamon in to tell us about the next film we're going to watch. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers, dude. See you soon. All right. Hopefully, our internet connections will hold up continually for the next hour or so. Boris and Eamon, can you guys both hear me?
I can hear you. Testing.
That's all right. We can. Thanks, guys. Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you.
I think we're going to dive straight into watching your film. So it'd be good if you could just tell us what we're going to watch, mate.
Sure. So Eamon is a short documentary about the current refugee crisis, in particular the Syrian refugee crisis when it started in 2015. And it's a short documentary about Eamon, who you can see on this screen, who we met there, and his experiences in the camp and through the process of asylum. If that's right, Eamon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think I said at the start, but if anyone missed it, I'm going to say it again. I'm super, it's so fucking cool to have Eamon here as well, because we always have kind of someone who made the film, but to have someone who's lived the story of the film as well, join us for the conversation part, it's going to be fucking up. I've actually generally got goosebumps already, that's because I know what the film is. So, without further ado, I'm going to get Luke to press play, and we will join you guys back here at the end for Q&A. So, Luke, go!
To live, but we need to protect our borders by working hand in glove with our neighbours.
My name is Ayman. I'm from Syria, 22 years old. I'm in the jungle from 17 days. In Syria, in our village, people don't sleep in the night. Everyone smokes shisha and play cards. Everybody was happy before the war. That days is the best days in my life. I cannot forget it. Some of my friends died in the war. They was with me when we are children. We was playing together. But now they are not here. I went to Bodrum and went to Greece by a boat.
Macedonia.
It was very dangerous because the motor wasn't working. I asked for the jungle and I came here in the night. It's very bad, very hard to live here. The police sometimes kick us, hit us. They have a gas. I was in the truck from 3 days. The police get in the truck. There is no camera, you know, in the truck. He hit me, you cannot hit me. I said, you cannot hit me. Go out, he said, go out, go out. And when I get out the car, I said, why are you hitting me? I didn't hit you. He said, I didn't. They started destroying parts of the jungle. Sometimes they come to the shops and take everything inside just because it's legal, you know. But nobody stayed here forever. All of them did it, and all of them in the UK now. We just have to try and wait. So I will try. Today my friend is in UK, 2 person. We was here together, eating together, wake up together. We hope every day I say to my friend, someday we will do a breakfast in the UK. And he's saying, I hope. So we will keep trying. It's hard, but we don't have another chance. Yeah. It's enough. I want to work and find a safe life and a good life. I don't want more things. Just to be with my cousin and his children. And I will know there is nothing dangerous there. So it's very hard when you go and trying and you will be very tired and you will go back and sleep. The next day the same thing, every day. But someday you will do it. You know, you have a hope. You say, someday I will do it. After trying by lorries and train and all that stuff, we were trying to find something new. Finding a big case and hiding myself inside it and see what happens. So I went to the station with them and I got in the case there. And then my friend pulled me and he just put me inside. And there was a long time. I stayed about 4 hours inside the cage without enough breath. I was about dying because I couldn't hear anything. People were sleeping. I didn't really know where the bus is, and I didn't know if I crossed the checkpoint or not. So I had to stay in the case. There I was so afraid and scared. I was feeling, this is it. You cross or you stay. This is the important time. big countries, all the world just watching, doing nothing, just people saying on TV, we're gonna do. Nobody does anything. So I can't go to Syria, that's a painful thing. Yeah.
And we're back. Nice. Well done, guys. I feel like there's a virtual round of applause from everyone. That's such an insane film. I'm just going to dive straight into questions because otherwise I feel I might not get through everything. The first question from Alex is, how did you guys meet and how did the project start? Which I think would be really interesting to hear from both of your sides, because I think the story starts with Boris and the guys choosing to go out, but then obviously there's your side of it as well, Eamon. So maybe Boris, you tell us kind of how did you guys meet and how did it start from your side, and then Eamon can tell us his side of it as well.
Sure. So this was in September 2015 when there was this whole sort of surge of sensationalist news everywhere, and no one knew what to think, and it was just outrageous hypocrisies. I don't know, it was just a lot going on, and myself and a small group of filmmakers wanted to visit Calais and just experience it and tell honest stories and tell real stories. And we didn't know what those stories were at that time. We just knew we had to go there and document it and try and tell the truth as much as we could. So we went to Calais in September 2015. It was me, my twin brother Jack, who's our DP, sound op, producer and sound op. And then we actually stayed in Calais for a few days volunteering before, just to sort of, not just to be so abrupt. There's a lot of people there, you know, and that's part of the problem. There was lots of film crews there giving a lot of different opinions. And we sort of offered our services and volunteered and built relationships. And this must have been maybe into the second day of filming. I think the second day of filming, it was dusk and we were filming this kind of mosque, because there's lots of different parts of the camp. There's the Sudanese, the Afghan, the Iraqi and the Syrian. And we were filming this mosque and this old man came to me and started talking to me while Jack was filming, and it seemed like he was quite angry. And I sort of put the cameras down. It's like, hey, respect that. And then more people came and started talking to us quite angrily, and suddenly this sort of, you know, naive middle class filmmaker was like, oh, I'm being lynched, you know, I'm getting caught between an angry mob, and everyone, all the film crew ran away, and it was just me with this angry mob of people shouting in Arabic, and you know, my naive sense thought I was in danger. And then a group of people, including Eamon, came and sort of came and not broke up it, but you know, sort of translated what they were saying. And it turned out that all these men were just trying to say, whatever you're saying, make sure Allah is great, God is great, Buddha is great, Jesus is great, that it's open and telling, you know, as a world as a whole, not just, you know, direct, which is kind of why we were there. And then that cued Eamon to take us to the camp, which is a sort of 250 Syrians, and we hit it off from there, really, didn't we, Eamon? I mean, it was kind of straight away. And you gained your trust. Well, I don't know. Were you hesitant of us? I mean, we were friends, but it wasn't like, you know.
Yeah, I was, but you know, like when I saw you guys sort of trying to do something about the camp and, you know, get the message across, I was like, these guys are doing a good thing. I should like help and show them around.
He was, yeah, and it was that. I mean, Eamon was showing us all the places to eat, you know, and telling us his story, and very quickly we built this trust. And as you saw in that scene when Eamon was climbing over the fence, you know, that was the first night of us with him. You know, he was like, you want to come with us to film you breaking into the train station? We're like, okay. And we almost had a heart attack. I mean, Eamon's used to doing this kind of thing every day, but for us it was this what's the length, Eamon? It was like a sort of 2-mile walk or something, or what
I
you
think it
do?
was 2 miles, definitely 2 miles. It used to take more than an hour to walk because, we were not even able to get the public transport and stuff.
And we went and filmed as far as we could, but you didn't make it that time, did you, Eamon? So
so close.
That's one of the things that I found amazing. So when I first watched the film, my first instinct was like, I wonder how they got that pickup shot. That's a seriously good recreation, but it wasn't. That was just the first night you guys met, and that was a genuine attempt for you, Eamon, to try and to cross the border. Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Eamon, how was it? Did you not feel like? Talk me through your thought process there, because you'd just met the guys in the camp. They were filming something. They seemed relatively friendly, and then that first night, you just invite them along as you try and cross the border.
I can't remember if it was the first night we met. I think it might have been a few nights after that. Was it? I'm not sure. It's 5 years ago. But yeah, I think I did trust them. I don't know. It's something it's obvious. I've seen people come into the camp and trying to make bad films about refugees and stuff and reports and all that. But the guys didn't seem like that, and we were chatting about everything, and I was showing them my sort of, as you've seen in the film, some phone footage that I was trying to sort of document things and what's going on there. Yeah.
There's a big gap sort of between the filmmaking, where 2015 was when we were there at the camp. But then we left after our shooting, and Eamon was still there. So there was about a year of Eamon still trying to get through while we were back in London. But we were staying in constant communication, and there was lots of tries and fails. And eventually, one day I just got a WhatsApp message from Eamon saying, "Boris, I'm in London," and I'm just like, What are you doing in London? He was like, can you come? And I'm at Charlotte's. Can you come with me to Charlotte's? So that's our producer. So I head over to Hackney Wick, where she was, and see Eamon, and we embrace, and it's I haven't seen him, and I was like, how did you do it? And he points at this suitcase which featured in the film, and said, I was put into a suitcase from a friend, and I've been in this for 5 hours, and I got out Victoria Station, and I called you. I was just like, and that night we then went back to our house, and it was in Brockley, when we lived in Brockley, and had a drink, and that begun that next stage of Eamon's life, which we've been sort of on and off with, but it's been a long process, and so there's been big gaps between the filmmaking and why the source footage was important, and choosing the story, because it's not fiction, it's not scripted. We didn't go in there with an idea, it's like we found our protagonist, but Eamon has a life, and his life was almost more important than our film, so it's just working out where we place it and what happens.
So that, all the footage that's in Calais, that was all on one trip? That was one stint, as it were?
Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
About 1.5 weeks. Yeah. Just
a question for you, Eamon. I know you were there a lot longer. I don't know if I'm laughing. It's not a thing to laugh about, but you were laughing as well, so I feel like it's fine. I had, when you were in the scene where you're going to go back to the bit where the guys are filming you making that attempt. This is going to feel like a ridiculous comparison, but I always feel like when I'm watching Hunted, that it must be really hard to hide from the hunters because you've got the camera person next to you as well. And my instant reaction when I saw that scene was like, is it not going to be really hard for them to avoid being caught because there's someone behind them with a gimbal?
Well, the thing is, the guys came with me, they came 20% of the way, and then they went back because there's like even worse sort of fences and stuff. Like what you've seen in the film is just like the beginning of the, you know, the site or like the pool.
Got you, fine. And then the rest of the you then carried on.
We freaked out. We couldn't want to go any further because I know there's like cartel land where there's the DPs like running through like the shooters and stuff. But I think we decided that was enough because we were shooting on an A7S on a gimbal and you know it wasn't subtle. Like Jack had the gimbal, I was there directing, Pat was there with a boom mic, our AC was there pulling focus. So you know we were all like running around hunched like this, and it wasn't very subtle. So yeah, we kind of did our hurdle and Eamon continued for the next steps. Because
I'm going to try and get through as many of these questions in the comments as possible to make sure I'm moving. So I'm going to kind of start firing them off relatively quickly. So apologies if I cut you off mid question answer. I'll do my best not to. The first question that I've just seen is, what was the inspiration for kind of the soundtrack and the music side of it?
That was a great process, actually. It was with our long-term collaborator, Todd Speakman, who runs Speakman Sound, who's kind of, they do all of the sonic element of our films. And we didn't want to create the conventional tug at your heartstring kind of sort of documentary sort of vibe, which you hear a lot, and we wanted to create something authentic and something but not overly pastiche. Like again, it could be quite satirical, you know. And so and Todd is he's a musical curator. He's like a wizard dictionary in and he's got a big collective of musicians, and we decided on themes and moods, and we met in his studio in northwest London, and I got a whole series of rushes, just long takes. So you know the long takes going through the streets, and just I think it was separated between day, dusk, and night, and we had 3 scores for each, and we played it. And Todd had written subtle arrangements, and then these virtuoso musicians basically improvised to these long takes, and then eventually we did that a few times on each until we were happy, and then Todd put them in the studio and mixed them up, and eventually we chose the right scenes for the film once we had the cut. So sound is a huge part for me, and that was just the one tone, and then it was bringing in the sound design and how that's influenced by the sound design. So it's great. We've got a very intuitive, in-depth relationship, and also he's a good friend, so he doesn't mind doing a million zillion changes.
Ed's asking kind of how did you approach trying to tell the story and kind of document it as well as being sensitive to Eamon's situation? But actually kind of, I think that'd be interesting to hear from your side, Eamon. It's like, what was your experience from it? Obviously, like it's your story that's being told.
I think with Boris and Jack and the guys, it was super easy. Like with Boris and Jack, like we became more friends, and like we care about each other more than the film itself. It came to that like naturally, and they were like so like clear about it. They were like, if there's anything you don't like in the film, we can like stop the project now. And they were like very careful, and all they wanted is for me to be like okay, like, you know, legally and stuff.
Where was that? Sorry, Boris, you go.
Well, we're always very clear about where the current climate was and what Eamon's rights were, because a lot of the time Eamon hadn't claimed refugee status, you know, making sure we're telling the story and going along. But as Eamon said, he's part of a family. He comes to ours for Christmas every year. This will be the 6th year in a row, you know, or no, 5th year. And, you know, he's a filmmaker, and we're, you know, it's as I was saying earlier, the film almost took a sidestep, you know, and it became more about the friendship. So, you know, I got a film out of it, but I also got a best mate. So
that actually leads really well into 2 questions that kind of popped up in the comments. One is sort of what you're talking about, Eamon, in terms of the process. Did that collaboration element, I guess, in terms of like, the guys kind of being, like putting you first above the project, how did that then work in terms of the edit process? Were you involved in the edit? Was it the same process going through that?
Well, I didn't edit anything, but I was like Boris was checking with me on every single thing, sort of being added to the film, like every scene, literally everything. So I sort of just like agreed on things and not agreed on things. We would like discuss what is better to add and what is not, because we shot a lot of footage.
Yeah. And what was that kind of? That's the other half of Charlotte's question, really. Is I guess from the edit point of view, maybe this is for you, Boris. Is how did you balance the like telling Eamon's true story with making sure you had a good story arc for make a good film?
That was a constant struggle, and trying to decide even if this is going to be a feature and how long does this story go and when do we close the story. It was a very organic process where often I think I got to a point where I just had to follow my gut. I just had to follow my intuition because there was so many different thoughts and so many different ideas of where the film could go. If it become a mini series, if it become a feature, if it would be a short piece. And eventually I think it was after one Christmas when we sort of decided we have to get this done. Let's set this, and then this could lead on to the next chapter, because it gets up to Eamon not receiving refugee status. It ends in maybe a little bit of a sort of pessimistic sort of tone. It's not an uplifting end, but it leaves it quite ambiguous. We could have waited for the refugee status, but also we needed a bit of a somber note. So it was a risky move, but I think it works for effect, and it leads on, if we do and when we do, onto the next film.
That's a question from Jonathan. Is that have you thought about making a follow-up film?
Eamon pitched a great sort of log line to me, which I'm sold by. Eamon, if you want to discuss it.
So I, on my way to the UK, I was trying to sort of document, filming on the phone, whatever I had and stuff. So I didn't have the skill back then. I didn't know how films were made properly and all that. But after I arrived and then we made this film, I had an idea, which is instead of, because I couldn't film properly all the way to the UK, I was thinking about actually going back and filming all the way back and go to all the countries that I've been through, and
away from Syria to the UK.
Well, right to the Syrian border, because that's my limit. I can't.
It would be very interesting now Eamon has his status and his cards to go through these walls and these portals which were sort of blocked to him, and the stories and the encounters which have changed significantly because of a document. And I think it's quite a poignant story, and would start from where we left off. So similar to how John said, if anyone's got a couple of million quid or whatever, then ping it over and we'll get cracking. But I'm pleased. It was important not for this film to just go into a festival circuit, and rotate around this echo chamber of artists applauding each other. This film is about the conditions refugees experience, and it raises certain questions about what isn't available for refugees, and it's important that it's shared within the right communities. And we've partnered with some great charities such as Refugees at Home, who've been very supportive of Eamon, and Care for Calais, and this film could maybe be used for them to use the film in their own benefit to sort of raise awareness of refugees. So I'm pleased it's finding a home outside of the festival circuit.
Eamon, Alex is asking whether you kind of had an interest in film kind of before going through this process of making this film, or were you just filming stuff on your phone kind of because you thought you should be documenting parts of it? And as the process of making it, is that what's got you kind of interested actually in working in it?
Well, actually, before I sort of start my journey, I've always had interest in filmmaking and stuff, but I've never had a chance. My life was, so hard since I was 17. So I had to go and study dental technology, and which is something I didn't really want to do, but it was the right thing to do for that time. But now I have a degree, I'm not using it. So I decided, before I left Turkey, to sort of document on my phone. And that's where everything started, like my interest in filmmaking and stuff. And after I arrived here and like worked with the guys, I was sort of trying to make my own videos and teach myself filmmaking until I became a professional.
And you guys are now working together, that's right?
Yeah, we've got an edit in the process at the moment. And yeah, it's been a wonderful evolution.
It's such a it's almost like a perfect Hollywood ending, which like not in a way to kind of brush over the story itself, but it is just as soon as so full disclosure, Boris told me that a couple of days ago. I knew that already, but when Boris told me that, I was like, that's just such a. It feels like the right ending. Do you know what I mean? Like that, and that almost for me that feels like that's the reason to make the next film. Is that there is a whole story in the follow-up, and I think it would do it feels like for me that would do even more of a job of the education of kind of wider public around refugees. I think because I think there'd be plenty of people who wouldn't expect the kind of the person they see in the film to then be a person who could be behind the camera in the next film. I feel like there's a real nice story in terms of just a really human story and humanizing the process through that. And then kind of like the person who's the subject becomes the creator of the next one, the artist in the next one.
100%. Yeah, I think it's that kind of jumping between reality. So it's not just a sort of straight documentary, but really jumping between aiming in front of the camera, behind the camera, behind us, you know. So there's a lot there, and we've been brewing on it. And it's, you know, this is a period of time where we can potentially be discussing it further. So yeah, it's very exciting. Potentially, yeah, let's bring on the sequel.
Guys, I'm conscious that it's nearly 8:00 and it's a Thursday, so there's an NHS clap happening in a few minutes' time. So I'm going to wrap the questions up there. But if anyone's got any more questions for the guys, then please drop a message on their Instagram handles, which hopefully you can see right now. Both of you, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we could probably talk for the next 4 hours about this film, but we don't have 4 hours because the clap is in 4 minutes. But thank you both so much. Really appreciate it. If anyone's got any more questions, I'm sure the guys will be happy to answer them on Instagram. And thanks everyone for joining us, for coming along. As I said, the next one's going to be on the 14th, 2 weeks' time. Same place, 6:30. And we will let you know who's going to be on that one soon. So make sure you join the WhatsApp group and the email list that are both in the description of the film of the YouTube link now to make sure you don't miss the details for the next one. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us, guys. Once again, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks to John as well.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone has a lovely Thursday evening. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.